Her 9000's Game Room.
I've always had a bit of an interest in bootleg games, just because it's sort of fascinating to see people that aren't the official channels making cartridges. You know, it raises all sorts of questions. How and where do they produce the carts? Where do they get the circuit boards from? In some cases, how do they manage to get multiple games on one cartridge? But when you stop and think about it, there's another side to this. People talk about, like, video game preservation. Now, whatever we're talking about, cartridges, discs, it's very possible that existing playable copies of these can dwindle over time due to damage, loss, or basically corrosion. We all know that nothing lasts forever. Recently, I purchased 2 SNES reproduction cartridges. One was SWAT Cats and the other one was Days Before Christmas. They are actually games that I don't own real, and I will review them at some point probably. But really, the reason I brought these was out of the interest in reproductions. You see, I'm interested to see what they are like, if they function correctly, what the chips and the board and the cartridges and labels look like. And I did actually play with the idea of building a cartridge myself. I priced it all up, I looked on various sites, eBay, Etsy, etc. And it was going to cost like £5 for a reproduced cartridge shell, and then it was going to cost around £5 again for the main board, and probably another £5 for the ROM chips and stuff I needed for inside, a couple of quid to get a label printed. It probably turned out it was going to cost me about £18, and then obviously I'd have to solder and mess around. And although I'm not work shy, obviously I do my YouTube channel, I'm reviewing SNES games, horror movies, I also play a lot of games myself, I hold down a job, and most importantly I have lots and lots of unfinished plans. I have an old Apple iMac desktop computer which I've been on about building into a working model for years now. I've got a PS3 which stopped functioning, and I pulled it apart and repaired it twice. It stopped functioning again and I've pulled it apart and it's sat there waiting to be repaired, and I just thought, I don't really need to create another job for myself. I don't need another project that could sit there for 20 years untouched. So when I saw 2 prototype games come up for sale on eBay at £4.80 free postage, I was like, well, there you go. You can buy them, you take them apart, play them, look at them, and it's cheaper than it was going to be, and it cuts out a lot of the middleman, a lot of the soldering, messing around, and you can just quickly play them and talk about them. Now, obviously, as soon as I got them, I held them in my hand. They didn't weigh enough. Whether it was a mix of the cartridge being made of slightly different plastic or lighter boards inside, probably both. And to the trained eye, it was quite apparent they were fake. But they weren't awful. You know, they were decent. Made me think that one day, maybe when all the real cartridges have rotted away, stopped reading, stopped working, this might be how we carry on using systems. Yes, you can emulate games and play them on all sorts of hardware, but there's something about the experience being closer to the original. Even if all the SNESes had broken down and all the cartridges gone, there'd be something that would feel closer to natural to get a bootlegged cartridge with the game on a chip and put it in a Retron and play it, instead of hacking an Xbox or using a PC to play a bunch of ROMs. At the end of the day though, after playing around with these, I think I won't make any myself, I probably won't buy any more. It's just so much easier to slap the ROMs on an SD card, put them on an EverDrive and play them. But it's fascinating to see that we are now in a day and age where people can make counterfeit SNES games, reproductions, and I think with some work and a bit more money and quality you could make something that would be comparable. You can make them in better plastic. This could be the future. I've got a few games which, although official releases, let's be honest, really are repros, such as the Joe and Mac 3-in-1 collection, the Data East Hits collection cartridge, and a Jellicoe Walk Along Beat 'em Up cartridge. And yes, they come in card boxes, they are produced by a company with the proper rights, but let's be honest, they're still a reproduction. They're just a legal reproduction. Anyway, this is something worth thinking about. Do reproduction cartridges, be they legal ones like the Joe and Mac one, or, morally grey ones, does it have a place in the world of video gaming? How do you feel about them? My honest thoughts are, they're fine, they're cool, as long as people are genuine about what they are. I hate this fact that people will put them online and try and trick people into buying them. As a general rule of thumb, if you see a game that's worth 50 quid and there's a bunch of copies for it for a tenner, something ain't right. Most likely it's a reproduction. If you want to play that game and you're happy paying that, good for you. As long as you know what you're getting when you walk into it. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off saying keep on gaming.